After our front-wheel drive Turbo Lancer was stolen and recovered with a blown motor, we decided to take on the mammoth task of building a rear-wheel drive Evo using a Nissan Silvia CA18 turbo motor. This is the complete conversion from start to finish. This is officially the last time this car will be front-wheel drive. First up, we've got to remove everything up top, or as much as I can, and then we'll chuck the car on the hoist, jump underneath, take the exhaust and stuff off, and kind of figure out how we are going to attack this and clear out this engine bay ready for our CA18 DET. Let's go. Time to get this thing in the air. And now we can get a glimpse underneath. Ooh-wee. Look at that. It's a big window. There's another one up top as well. Right there. And then I think there's another one around the back. Yeah, big one. For now, we're gonna go ahead, rip the exhaust off and start doing the last little jobs that we need to do to get this motor out of the car. Tank is out, and look at all the space that we have down here now. We now have the room that we need. So diff goes here, engine's up there, drive starts down here. But now the fun part, we get to drop the motor out of the front of the car. It's officially out. Look at that. Look at that, mate. Jesus. Big hole 1, big hole 2, big hole 3 around the back. That's crazy. Oh, you can see right through. Right now, it's really messy in here, so what we're gonna do, use up a little bit of our YouTube magic, and we're gonna get the car on the ground, back on its wheels, so we can take it outside and clean the engine bay. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, there she is. No longer a front-wheel drive car. Just looking at the engine bay now, we've got a huge amount of work ahead of us. Most of the stuff that you can see in the engine bay right now will be deleted. Pretty much everything will be keeping the brake master, clutch master, and that's kind of it. G'day, Tara.
Hey.
How you doing? Yeah, run, Flintstone. What's up? We're heading to pick up the CA. Very excited. Dr. Drift has facilitated the sale, which is awesome. So we're heading over to his shop. Gonna pick it up, gonna suss out a bunch of S13 stuff that he has, because he has a bunch of front and rear subframe stuff. It's gonna be a fun day, but let's jump in the car, go for a trip,
Yay.
have some fun.
Road trip!
Road trip, let's go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here is our motor that we're gonna be putting into the Fivo. How good. 1.8 litres of Japanese goodness. Like any motor that's been sitting for a while, it looks janky. Alright, enough chit chat. It's time to get this thing loaded up and back to the shop. I want to say a huge thanks to Dr. Drift for sourcing the motor and gearbox package for us, as these CA18s are getting really hard to find. Once we got back to the shop, we unloaded the motor, and now it's time for the real work to begin. We've acquired our motor, got our gearbox, got our clutch, got our Fivo, so now you know things are about to get real serious. Obviously the first thing we want to do is we want to put that motor in the frickin' bay and just kind of see where it's going to sit and kind of get an idea for how things are going to work. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So let's strip a bunch of stuff out of this engine bay. I'm removing the front bumper and intercooler so we can cut out the front radiator support. We'll be making this removable using a bracket, as this will allow us to fit and remove the engine easily through the front of the car. Next up, we're removing the old front-wheel drive engine mounts along with a few other pieces, and we're ready to test fit the new motor. So I've literally been binging Jimmy Oakes' rear-wheel drive Nissan, like rear-wheel drive Civic series. Now I have a really good knowledge, so shout out Jimmy Oakes, you're a legend. This bay is actually going to come up super nice once we remove a bunch of these brackets. All the spot welds we can just drill out. But now it's time to test fit our CA. Obviously this is just a mild test fit right now because we've still got all of our steering stuff in the way. We don't actually have our S13 subframe either, so that'll be getting dropped off tomorrow, along with our MX-5 rear subframe. But look how freaking wide these engine bays are. Like, that's the motor. That's like, the rails are so far apart, it's crazy. So there's a lot of room here. So let's go ahead and chuck the CA in the bay. Let's go. So after a little jiggling and fiddling and moving around, it's finally, well, it's sat in the engine bay. It's not in exactly the right spot, but you kind of get a little bit of an idea of what it's gonna look like. Look at that. Looks so strange sitting that way in the engine bay after what we're used to looking at with the 4G93. Like, obviously it's not on the right angle, it's not at the right height, sitting too high, slanted over that way a little bit, but you kind of get a little bit of a perspective. And for the most part, I just wanted to see what it would look like in the engine bay and how much space there is everywhere. So at the back here, as you can see, it's sitting way far forward. So, but we'll basically be having this thing sitting like way hard up against the firewall, like here. So as you can see, there's a huge amount for it to move backwards. It's always nice doing stuff like this and doing a test fit because it gives you a whole bunch of motivation. Just seeing what it will kind of look like once it's all done. It looks so freaking cool. And then you imagine the high mount turbo manifold with a turbo there, beautiful intercooler piping. Oh my God, it's gonna look so good. Engine's out, car's in the air. Time to rip this front subframe stuff out. No more front wheel drive. And we're gonna start building these frickin' frame rails. Let's go! So our subframe, suspension, everything is gone from the car. Look at that, so much room for activities.
So many aerobics in here, so many activities.
Now, the hard part really begins. And this is where I start to get a little bit outside my comfort zone and it gets a little bit outside my skill level. So we're all gonna be learning together. We've got to start measuring. We've got to start getting things level. So first thing we're gonna do, luckily bought in a laser level thing. I don't even know what it's called, which is right here. And this is gonna be super important to us getting all of our rails straight in the right position and everything like that. So we need to get the car on a level plane. So what we're gonna do, we'll place a level on this sill right here, and then we're gonna jack up the back of the car until the car is perfectly level. Then we're gonna get our laser pointer, we're gonna do some measurements, and we're gonna find the center line for our wheel arches, for starters, and the center line for our engine bay. And then we can start to get an idea for where our frame rails are gonna sit. It's just a lot of measuring once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and making sure that you are absolutely nailing this stuff, because once these rails are welded in, you don't want the engine being on the piss, because that is really gonna affect the way that it drives, the harmonics between the front of the motor and the diff and the drive shaft, of course, as well. So this is the part that really, really matters. This is a super important part of the process, getting the car level, as this sets the base for the rest of our measurements. Once the car's level, we measure between the strut towers to find the perfect center line of our car. So the next important step, we have our caster arm brackets, right? These are from the S13. It's kind of hard to show on camera by myself because I'm the only one here, so I can't get someone else to film, but this sits on the front, and then this part sits on like the rail that also holds our subframe. So that distance between this plane and this plane is very important. So we're gonna clamp this to our table. We're gonna take a measurement at that distance, because that's the distance difference between this flat rail that goes here, that this mounts to, obviously, and then the rail up above that the subframe mounts to. So definitely an important measurement. So we'll go ahead and measure that now. Then we're gonna go ahead and chuck this bad boy in the engine bay, tack it on, and then put our engine onto it and kind of see. Hopefully that'll tell us, you know, we'll shuffle it around the engine bay, hopefully that'll tell us where we need to put our rails and stuff. But yeah, let's keep going. So I measured and triple checked the caster arm bracket, as this measurement is crucial to the success of the swap. I actually ended up making a mistake with this that you'll see later in the video. I then got stuck into my ingenious subframe jig and set up the laser light. I marked center on the lower radiator support and lined the laser up with the center line that we marked on our firewall earlier. This will allow us to perfectly center our subframe and engine. Then I threw the engine back in the hole and spent the next hour getting it in the perfect position to start making our custom frame rails. And after so much measuring, more measuring than I've ever done in my entire life for anything, the engine is sitting hopefully where it will live forever moving forward. There's so many things to think about. Even now, like, you've just got to make sure that, like, the height of the subframe, for example, versus the height of the frame rails, the position of where the LCA is going to come out versus the position of the top hat. But that is where it has to live, because obviously the engine can't really go backwards anymore. We're definitely going to be making a custom tunnel, but we already knew that. I'm really happy with where it's all sitting. It's sitting low enough as to where we'll definitely be able to shut our bonnet, and it's just nice and low in general, which is cool. So the next job we've got to do is cut this out, because we're doing a custom front cross member, and that's what our caster arm brackets will bolt to. So yeah, let's go ahead, do some chopping. I've already marked it all up as to where we need to cut, and see where we land. There's not much left of the Lancer in terms of the front of the car anymore, but the car is now officially ready to put our new frame rails in. That is freaking exciting. Welcome back to day 2. Got my 7-Eleven $2 coffee. Running on a budget at the moment. Tastes like shit. We are ready to make our custom frame rails. We've got some plates that we're going to weld onto the bottom of this structure right here. I don't want to weld the new rail directly to it, because it's better to weld plates on so it spreads the load. It makes it way stronger pretty much. So we've got these plates. Hopefully I've cut them properly. So they'll go on the bottom just like that. We're going to weld these on, and we're going to go ahead, cut our first bar, and that can pretty much weld straight on. So let's go. So I prepped the surfaces ready for welding and tacked the plates on. Once I triple checked the surface was level in all directions, I did the final welds. Next, it was time to measure and cut our new lower radiator support bar. Once again, we triple checked that it was level before tacking it on. It was then that I realized I'd made a big mistake. As we go through this process and do stuff like this for the first time, obviously you're gonna make mistakes, and I have made quite a monumental one, which is heartbreaking, but we've caught it at a pretty good time. So I set some steel in where our rail is going to go, and I decided to test fit our caster bracket, right? But here's the problem. I've done this rail and this rail backwards. So this, as you can see, sits on the front like so, and it's supposed to go upwards, but I've done it to where the front rail sits above 70 mil above our rail and not below it, which is not good. Luckily, I only tacked the front bar in, it's not fully welded in, so what we'll do, take that front bar out, and we're gonna have to make some metal spacer that goes in here that's gonna bring this down below these bars. So really lucky that we caught it early. Just so happened that I wanted to just test fit that because I was inquisitive, and yeah, it was wrong. Yes, our problem is fixed. I got it right this time. I've even double checked. So we are back on track. And then I've gone ahead and marked the exact width of our subframe, because we're gonna go ahead and start making our rails. So this is all centered, it's all level. And so I know that if I make the rails perfectly straight pointing backwards at this width, that's 768 millimeters, boom, right to the back, then I know that our subframe is going to bolt to that. Let's go ahead and start the process of making our new frame rail. For the last time in this video, we have to pull the engine out of the car to make way for our new frame rails. Once again, we're using our threaded axle stands and spirit levels to ensure our rails are in the perfect position. We'll need to mark and notch the rails out at the back to match the unique design of the current rails on the car and ensure we have a tight fit for welding. Once that's done, we can cut our new rails down to size. So after hours and hours of grinding, measuring, cutting, tacking, measuring, grinding, cutting, tacking, we finally have our frame rails sitting in place on our structure, which is pretty darn cool. Looks so good. Holy crap. This is way beyond my skill level, so I've had to execute a lot of patience, and there've been a couple of swear words thrown about here and there just to get this to where it is currently. So I took the time to make one last nervous measurement before making the first tacks on our new frame rails. This is easily the biggest automotive challenge I've ever taken on, and I really enjoyed this fabrication process. Once I finished the welding, I made the final measurements for the subframe and drilled the holes. Then it was finally time to bolt the S13 subframe to our new rails on our Mitsubishi Lancer. Then we put the CA18 DET motor into the Lancer engine bay, sitting on its brand new frame rails under its own weight
for the very first time.
Here she is. One of the biggest jobs I've ever done on a car. And she's all mounted. How frickin' good. That's insane. Now one of the things that we mucked up and we have to check, obviously, is making sure that these caster brackets fit properly in the car. Boom. That is frickin' awesome. Even just seeing this in the engine bay like properly there is frickin' bonkers to me. Also, some of you guys with a keen eye would notice we have a turbo manifold on our CA18 DAT motor. How good does that frickin' look? I found this on Marketplace for $300 and I could not resist buying it because even if we weren't gonna use it, I mean, that's pretty cheap. But what I was thinking we were gonna do is we'll cut the whole thing off the flange and we're gonna flip it up and run it top mount, because I reckon in this engine bay, with this engine and how it all looks, we need to have the turbo top mounted here just to show the whole setup off. Clearly, we're gonna have to chop a tunnel into this car for the gearbox because it's got a baby tunnel in there, but it's not big enough for what we want. So first things first though, we're gonna strip out the interior, so let's get into it.
We start by removing the seats, center console and the carpet to see what needs to be cut out to fit this big ass rear wheel drive gearbox in our tiny front wheel drive tunnel.
For the 69th time, we are taking the motor out of the car because we obviously need to get to the firewall. So I've marked on the firewall where we'll need to cut. So we'll take the motor out and then we're going to assess everything we have to kind of move out of our way on the firewall and go from there. So time to come out, buddy.
It's no surprise with a build like this, the engine and gearbox are constantly being removed from the engine bay as we take measurements and make modifications. We're removing the fuel and brake lines from the firewall as well as the sound deadening, and the nerves start to build as we prepare to make our first cut.
Wish me luck. Hopefully this goes the way we expect it to go. Hello there. Yeah. Our first hole is cut. Look at that. Woo! We've still got a lot of cutting ahead of us and there's every potential that I'll have to go higher here. Look at that. Goodbye, tunnel. Ooh, big gearbox tunnel guy. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it may have looked like that happened quite quickly on the time lapse. It did not. It took me like an hour to get that in place because I had to kind of go back, cut a little bit out, go forward, go back, bang some with the hammer, go forward. It was pretty gnarly. So first things first, all of our measuring paid off when we put the motor in the car. And that is because our gearbox is nice and flat. So it's not sitting on an angle or anything like that with our engine on the mounts, which means we got all of that correct. It's also sitting center in the bay, which is also nice. So this is how it looks as it's sitting in the car at the moment. Now, a few things to note here. We will likely have to remove the dash. That's fine. I kind of expected it. And we're gonna have to do something about the airbox in the car for sure.
Doing something like removing a dash can seem like a scary prospect, and that's probably why I've avoided removing a dash for the whole 20 years that I've been working on cars. Once we got the dash out, I removed the heater core and all of its components, and we finally got our first look at what we were dealing with.
First ever dash removal done. I've got to take the rest of this stuff out. Bit of magic. Ready? 3, 2, 1. So next up, let's cut this bit out of the center here. Let's get shopping. Dang. So we've got this crazy hole cut in this car. I mean, when you start something like this, you don't anticipate that you're gonna cut so much out, but we've got the engine sitting so low in the engine bay. And then look how freaking much we still have to cut off. Like, it looks high as when it's in the car, which is crazy. But we're gonna start making the gearbox tunnel now, which is fairly exciting. So we've got our sheet metal over here. So no time like the present, let's get into it.
After finalising the measurements for our gearbox tunnel, I'm marking up our sheet metal, ready to be cut and bent. We're using an unorthodox method to bend the sheet metal as we don't have a proper bender. It's all about being versatile and using what we have available to make it all work.
first part of our tunnel is in. Look at that, looking pretty good. There we have it, a big piece of the puzzle ticked off the list.
To create the template for our new tunnel, we're taking measurements and drawing the template onto cardboard. We then cut out the shapes and piece by piece we see the puzzle start to come together. Once we have our completed template, we trace it onto sheet metal and cut it out. We then apply the bends using a vise. Sometimes you have to utilise whatever you have around you to get the job done. Then we slip our new tunnel into place and tack it into the car.
That took a lot longer than I would care to admit. So here's what our gearbox tunnel is looking like now. Pretty sick. Like, I'm actually really quite happy with that. So we're just gonna do a little bit of YouTube magic here and get this over and done with, because I'm really keen to start getting this rear end done. So 3, 2, 1. Boom! Look at that. That is easily the hardest job I've ever done on this channel. Maybe it's equal with the frame rails actually at the front. That took an extreme amount of time, but I've got to say I am so freaking proud of this, especially given the limited tools that we had. Still some tidying up to do. Obviously I've still got to spend hours at some point fully tack welding the whole thing and then sealing it all off, but like the whole main shape is there. That's it. That's our tunnel. So before we go ahead and take out this rear end, our friend the laser light is back, and we need to mark out some center lines on the car so we know where our new stuff needs to go, right? This thing is absolutely gold, so we'll turn it on. So here we have the laser. You got to put it down on the ground, on a level surface. We find the center line on the wheel, and you shuffle it around, and then we get the center line up here on our arch as well. And then we'll tape that off, and that way we know, boom, next time when we have our other subframe ready to kind of be welded in, we'll set it up in the place that's going to be welded, and we will once again put the center line on that and make sure that that is in the center of that hub, and then boom, we know that everything is where it needs to be. I literally go home after filming these videos and sleep so well because there's so much measuring involved. And if you were my teacher at school, in high school, you would know numbers were not my thing.
We start off by marking center on the wheel arch as well as a center line through the middle of the car. Then it was time to remove all of the old rear end components to make way for our new rear wheel drive subframe.
No more front wheel drive, rear end, she's gone. How good is that? So now it's time to get chopping, fam. We're gonna chop everything out. So first things first, quickly, I'll whip these off and then we'll bring the car down, and then I'm gonna chop this whole boot out. We're gonna get it done. Got a brand new blade on the saw. Let's freaking go. Didn't see you there. Now is probably a good time for me to give you guys an explanation on why we are using the MX-5 rear end instead of another rear end, right? Why are we using MX-5?
A rectangle, because it's easier.
It is, it's a rectangle, look at this. So, it is symmetrical, and it's a rectangle. So the S13 rear subframe, for example, was like...
The mounting points are not on the same plane, so you've got to do a lot more work to mount it, and this would be a lot easier, because all you have to do is build a big metal rectangle and then literally just cut all your chassis wear, jack it up, and then just weld.
Yeah, weld it in place and then weld braces. So, and also the simplicity of it basically is why we're doing it. So 2 arms, that's it.
All the arms attached to the frame.
Yep.
So there's nothing, there's no traction arms over here in the way and stuff. So the coil, we're easy to get the coil over into where it needs to go.
That's right.
Just tap it in. Tap, tap, tap-a-roo.
Alright, so this is the really exciting part of the build. We have a subframe inside or underneath the car. So here we can see we need to notch our frame rails. This needs to come all the way up here, right? On both sides. So what I'm going to do is cut the rails out completely, exactly with the measurement front to back of the subframe, right? And then we're going to start building our box frame that's going to essentially weld into the car. Max Speeding Rods jumped on board once again, and they sent us their T6 coilovers. This is their upgraded coilover, right? So I went ahead and asked them to send us out S13 coilovers because Look at them, they're so freaking good looking. Because this has an S13 front in it, right? So we know the fronts are gonna fit. And I kind of took a risk, but I thought, hey, the rears look like they'll fit our MX-5 rear end as well. And sure enough, and this will basically fit down the bottom into our MX-5 subframe with just a little bit of cutting on the outer bush. Hopefully, once we've got the subframe in the right position, we're going to modify the top hat to accept our S13 coilover. We may have to do a little bit of massaging in the body here to make sure the coilover doesn't hit. That fucking sucked. Holy crap. That was honestly so difficult. Oh my god. Back and forth with the grinder and the reciprocating saw over and over and over.
We're on the home straight now as we measure and cut our new frame rails. I actually made a mistake here, but luckily I over measured, so it was easily fixed. I then notched out the new rails to suit the body and welded in the final bar. We then used the gearbox jack to lift the frame into place, triple checking our measurements before tacking the new rails in place for the first time.
Alright, so here's our first look at our frame rails in the car. My golly gosh. Once again, that was insanely tricky. Please be aware, by the way, that this is in its most basic form at the moment. It's just tacked in, it's just the frame of the frame rails. We've still got so much left to do. So if we've done our job properly, then the subframe should technically stay on the car as we lift the hoist up right now, which I'm hoping like heck it does. Check this out. Woo! Subframe fully mounted in the car. Now I think we're gonna have a go at mounting our max speeding rods coilovers. Probably just gonna go straight into this rear end with minimal modification.
We're using a pair of verniers to measure the exact amount we need to cut off our lower coilover mount, as it needs to be perfect so it doesn't move around in the subframe. Once we've made the cut, we mark the holes for the top hats in the body of the car and drill them out with a Christmas tree drill bit, nearly breaking my arm in the process. Once that's done, it's time to mount our coilover for the first time and see if it all fits.
I'm just dummy fitting these at the moment, so don't stress, but I do think that I'm going to redo this top hat. I really just want to do it nicely, so I think we'll basically add a big piece of tube here, and that way we can do a custom top hat specifically for this coilover. There is our coilover test fit. Not bad, guys, not bad at all. That is crazy to see. Rear-wheel drive subframe, coilovers, how good. Not bad. Look how center we got it. All of our measuring paid off. Like, that is bang on. Now we're jumping straight to the front of the car. So I've purchased everything that we need to get the front of our car all together. LCAs, S13 knuckles, we've got brakes, hubs. So let's fit the LCA now and kind of see where we're at. Front end on the car, just dummy fitted on. So at the top, we basically just have it like bolted into one of the old bolt holes, and then the bottom we have obviously the LCA in, knuckle on, coilover. Now we're also going to have to extend these LCAs so that we can have the hub sitting out further as well, because at the moment obviously this is a front wheel drive car. Like, the way this sits is so far in and the body is like so far out, so we need to push the hub outwards more. Now obviously you can do that with spacers, but that's not the way you want to do it. You actually want to extend the LCAs first as much as you can, get them, you know, out, and we should be able to extend the LCA to the point where we can get it, you know, that tight fitment up front.
I had a plan in my head for how these LCAs were going to come together, so I made the necessary measurements and started cutting. Unfortunately, once I put the puzzle pieces together, I realized it wasn't going to work. But hey, that's the nature of the game when you're doing something for the first time. In the end, I went with a straighter design that dialed in the angle using an angled cut on one end. Once the LCA was tacked, I threw it back in the car.
So after a little bit of fiddling around, this stuff is always going to be trial and error, and it's never going to be perfect first time for the most part. I think we've kind of gotten somewhere. This is with the LCA in, and the wheel is in a much better place in the wheel arch. It's definitely not center, but that looks pretty good to me. I did chuck the caster rod in just to have a quick look, but again, we'll probably modify this and extend it to get our adjustability back within the rod. I've extended it all the way out as far as it goes. This is the caster rod bracket, so it slots up in here, and then this caster rod bolts up in here, right? So obviously these are custom frame rails, so we're never going to be like exactly the same as S13 because the length's, you know, a little bit different, but it actually worked out very well. So all we'll have to do is extend this here. We'll probably just cut it, weld some rod in so it's longer, and we'll get the adjustability back. That'll all bolt up here, and everything's going to bolt up pretty nicely. So my new turbo from Pulsar Turbos has turned up. I'm so freaking excited. And we purchased the G25 550 turbo right here. So they are a proven turbo on SR20s and CA18s. So the turbo manifold that we have, this is a bottom mount manifold, which means it goes like this, mounts on the bottom, and we ain't about that noise. So what we're going to do is cut this off the flange and flip it upside down, and I'm 99% sure that we can make this work nicely as a top mount manifold, which is cool because our engine is set so low in the engine bay, which is really nice. We should be able to fit the turbo top mount.
There's something so satisfying about taking something that doesn't quite tick all of the boxes and modifying it to make it work. The flange on the manifold actually ended up being warped. Luckily, our friends at Burnout's Unlimited shop sent us a brand new laser cut flange to suit our motor. One of the things I love about these Pulsar turbos is they come with the V-band flanges you need to fit the turbo. This saves so much time. Next up, we bolt our new flange to the motor and test fit the manifold. Once we're happy with the placement, it's time to tack it together. I then test fit the turbo and rotate the front housing to suit our application. We then tack on our V-band flange, and how good does that manifold look? Finally, it's time to fit up our brand new Pulsar turbo.
Once again, we have hit another massive milestone in this build, and look at how good that looks in our engine bay, guys. Holy crap. And the beauty of such a big engine bay, because of the front wheel driveness of it all, we have so much room. As you can see, we have the extended LCAs in both sides of the front of the car. Yep, that's right. I've done them on both sides. We also have coilovers in all four corners of the car, which is phenomenal. They're in the front, they are in the back. That is crazy. Our MX-5 subframe is chilling there at the moment. And if we have coilovers in all four sides of the car, what do you think that means? That means that we can put wheels on the car and put the car on the ground for the first time. Just quickly, also, I will update you guys on the strut tops. So currently, this is the situation that we have. So I ended up using this stock hole right here, drilling a new hole here, and then we're going to plate this off so it all looks nice and pretty for the last hole. And hopefully by the end of that, our strut top should be looking mad. And we've done that on both sides, but that is pretty awesome how that worked out, because it made life quite easy for me, if I'm honest. This whole geometry thing is a lot of trial and error just to make sure that we get things right. Ideally, once this car's finished and built, it drives like an S13. That's what I'm crossing my fingers that it does. Let's go ahead and chuck some wheels on this thing and lower it down, and I'm so freaking stoked. Let's go.
It's crazy how something as simple as putting 4 wheels back on the car can make you feel so damn good. But after fitting a Mazda subframe in the rear and a Nissan subframe in the front of our Mitsubishi, this was a pretty awesome moment.
Yup, we're running rally style on the front. Look at that. Taking this car back to its roots with the rally look. We've got 4 wheels on the car. That is pretty massive. Oh. She's, oh, heard some kind of pop. All right, so the rear's tapped out, the front's tapped out. That's fitment, ladies and gentlemen, right there. It's literally sitting on the guard. Holy crap. Look at that. Wheels on, turbo, That is unreal. Now that we've had the car on the ground, stoked to see it, all 4 wheels on, amazing. We're gonna pull the motor out because it is time to get to work on this engine bay. There's no time like the present. Let's pull this motor out of this car.
And so the CA18 comes out of the engine bay for what I hope will be the final time. We're chucking it on an engine stand and we'll be giving it a full makeover so it looks brand spanking new, ready for our freshly painted engine bay.
The engine is out of the car and we are ready to get our hands dirty on the last of the fab work in the engine bay, stripping everything down and getting this thing ready for painting.
So out come all of the brackets, which requires a heap of cutting and drilling as there are a lot of spot welds. I went through a whole packet of cutting blades removing all of these brackets, but it'll be worth it in the end. We're also removing everything off the rear firewall and anything else in the engine bay that'll get in the way of us making this thing hella spicy.
Try to put that job off for as long as possible because I was dreading doing it. Because cutting stuff off, it sucks. You get covered in crap, but we did pretty well. We've gotten a fair way through and I'm pretty stoked with the outcome so far.
We're removing the last of the engine bay components before cutting out the old suspension top hats. Then it's time to get out our trusty cardboard and make the templates for our new coilover top hats. We then trace them onto 3mm mild steel and cut them out for realsies. It's important to clean all of the old seam sealer and paint off using a wire wheel so we can get some nice clean welds going. Finally, it's time to weld on our new plates.
After many hours of cutting, grinding and welding, we now have a strut top welded onto our rear wheel drive Lancer. Looks rad. I'm sure there's plenty of different ways that you could do that, but this is the way that I chose. So now we'll go ahead and what I'm gonna do is just chuck some etch primer on that, obviously, just so it doesn't rust or anything like that. And then we'll slide the coilover up through there for the final time. Obviously I've got to do that to the other side, but I'll do that off camera because you don't need to see me do it twice. But that is another massive part of the car done. And that's fantastic. So next up now, we can go ahead and cut out our sheet metal to start covering this gap in here.
It's important to throw etch primer on any bare metal surfaces before painting them. At least that's what Google tells me anyways. Next up, we're making the template to cover up the holes between the old rails and the new rails. I'm really pumped about these as I think it's going to tie the engine bay together nicely. Once we've templated that, we cut it out of our sheet of steel, weld it in, and voila!
The sun is setting outside on another beautiful day and I am done. I'm so tired, but the results are amazing. I'm very proud of us because we've come such a long way with this thing. But check this out. So the engine bay is coming along super nice. All plated off down the side here, looks rad. I've got both of our strut tops done now. I like the look of the welds, so I'm gonna leave those as is. We'll prime over that and paint over that, so.
I've decided to go for more of a raw race car look with this engine bay, so we're leaving all of the spot welds exposed under the paint. I've blacked off all of the unused holes on the firewall. This is a requirement for all forms of racing and drifting as it stops any potential fire hazards from entering the cabin. I then finish up the fab work on our frame rails and weld the tabs onto our removable radiator support.
Alright, a solid couple of hours later and quite a nice amount of fab work done, and I think we're finished in the engine bay. So we've got our plates nicely welded in here. I also did the front radiator support, so now it's able to be bolted on and removed and put back on, which is awesome. I mean, I'm over the moon if I'm honest with all that. It looks pretty insane. So let's pull the car out the front and we're gonna wash the engine bay for probably the first time in many years. Engine bay is nice and clean. We smashed it out. shop, and of course, it's about to be a big darn storm. It is warm today, but the weather's been just all over the place. Nonetheless, we're gonna push through and we're gonna paint the bay because I'm me, I have no patience, or I have some patience, but right now, none, and I wanna get this done. So we're pretty well ready to start prepping it, so let's go ahead and get this thing ready to lay down some primer. Yeah.
To mask up the bay, I use this hella cool plastic sheet that has masking tape on it, which makes life super easy. Just stick on and pull the sheet down. We'll be repainting the whole car in the near future, so overspray isn't a huge issue. Then we use a scotch pad to rough up the old paint and give the new primer something to stick to. Finally, we wipe down the whole engine bay with wax and grease remover, and we're ready to paint.
So let's mix up our primer and go to town on it. So keen. Amazing. It's flashed off, it's dried, and it's time to lay down our base coat. I was on the edge of thinking maybe we wouldn't get the engine bay sprayed today, but we've pushed through, we've persevered. Silver, let's go. Guys, woo! So instantly you can see the sparkle. Woo! So it is now the next day. We've given the paint a chance to dry and I'm pumped. It looks so damn good. Look how fresh this looks. She's shiny as hell. So here we have a brand spanking new radiator. Let's get it out the box. So this is an eBay unit. Man, it's crazy what you can buy for like $220 these days. But we're gonna install this shiny new radiator in the front of our car.
We begin by test fitting the radiator and taking measurements for our mounting tabs. I somehow coerced Woz into making the tabs for me, so that was a massive win. I reused some old BMW rubber radiator grommets we had lying around, and the end result was pretty nice. Once we welded in the tabs, I unwrapped our brand new radiator and test fitted it again so we can fit our top mounting tabs. Here's some I prepared earlier. I used rib nuts for the top tabs to keep everything looking nice and clean. I bolted up the tabs for the final time and just look at that, bloody stunning.
Great success, so happy with how that turned out. We have a radiator fitted in the car, super nice and sturdy, super happy with how it looks. You can start to see now like everything coming together and it just looks so fresh. So I'm sure you guys are wondering what our plans are for the motor. Well, basically we're going to do a very simple refresh. As long as everything looks all good on the inside, of course. We have removed the first lot of stuff from our motor and I've got to say, not confidence inducing so far. So I removed the coil packs and down here where the spark plugs are, well, let's just say there's a lot of gunk.
Fun fact, this is the first time I've ever disassembled a CA18 DAT motor. Although the intake system is an overcomplicated rat's nest of 90s emissions weirdness, it wasn't too hard to remove. Oof, look at all of that oil though.
There's something about like a 4-banger motor that looks so good when it's just bare. Look at that. Bare motor, nice and clean, kind of. It's pretty good fun. Amazing progress on our CA18 motor refresh. The block is all looking super nice and the head, everything's nice and cleaned out. Looking awesome. With that being said, let's go ahead and throw some paint on some intake manifold stuff. Our parts are nice and beautifully sprayed.
This is the fun part, the part where all of our hard work and patience pays off, putting the puzzle back together. Although we still have to throw all of the new gaskets and belts into the motor, it feels awesome bringing this crusty old motor back from the dead.
Look at that, we are getting somewhere with this. Ooh, 1. And 2. Boom. Man, fresh valve covers look so damn good. Boom, absolutely love this thing. And look at that. Tara's here. Tara, what do you think?
Hey guys. Oh my god, it's insane.
Ah, so good. Crazy what a little bit of paint can do.
It's finally time to weld the crush tubes into our frame rails. Once we've laid the weld down, we grind it flat and look at that, a perfect fit. Next up, I'm masking up the engine bay, ready to lay down our Raptor coating. Oof, she's looking a nice.
So we are back, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and ready to rip back into the Fevo build. But I've actually got some friends here for once. That's right, I'm not even paying them to be here. Baldy, what's going on?
What's going on, bro? How are you?
Yeah, magical. I'm so stoked to have you guys here, Maddie as well.
Hey guys.
Look at this. Look at this. This is mates wrapping the DTAC.
Ooh, of course,
the
sorry.
DTAC.
Grab the front as well.
I didn't even ask them to do that. You guys are legends.
I came filming with you. We had to. We had to, mate. We had to.
So Zach brought a little bit of inspiration for us. Obviously, we're digging into our build. Sometimes you can lose a bit of motivation, you know, but it's all right because you bought some. Should we look at it?
Apparently. It's not as cool as this, though.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that. I don't know if you guys remember a couple of months ago. What did we do? We took out the RX-7.
Yep.
And then we took out your Fevo as well.
Yep.
And I just loved it too much, and I had to buy my Revo.
That's not even that Fevo. This is a real Evo.
Yeah, that's the Revo. That's what I've called it.
I love it.
I have to beat you now.
Oh my god, it's so cool. What wheels are they?
They're 33 GTR wheels.
Excuse me?
Nissan wheels. 100%.
They look so good on
I
it.
don't think they're legit, but they don't have little.
Oh yeah, because
they
they do fakes of it, mate.
Apparently so, but they look the part. So I'm
Wow.
stoked. But the thing is, so sick.
Congratulations.
And I'm very, very happy that you allowed me to drive the Fevo, because otherwise I wouldn't have bought this.
Yeah, well this is on another level though. How much power? Come on.
260 kilowatts, so about as much as your CA is going to make.
About as much as my race car makes.
Apparently so. And this thing is like wild. Like it hooks up and just goes, and it's insane. And I love it. So hopefully we can get the Fevo and the Evo out in the twisties. We can make a mad video.
So
That's gonna be sick.
the plan is Rex get his car tuned. So he's got his front wheel drive Fevo. We'll have our rear wheel drive Fevo, and then we'll have the four wheel drive genuine Evo, and we're all going to go together. We'll take him to the track as well, lay down some times, because I'm sure you, the viewer, are keen
so
to.
wicked.
I don't even know like what would go better. I mean, probably Rex's front wheel
This
drive.
will be much, yeah, probably. This will be much heavier than both of your cars as
True.
well.
Yeah.
So Rex's front wheel drive is going to be mad for something like Haunted Hills, I
Yes.
reckon, because it's going to be so light and nimble.
Yep.
Your thing's just going to be tail happy.
Yes,
Because
agreed.
you're going to set up like a drift car.
Yep.
Yep. And this
Absolutely.
thing's going to be a heavy little boat. It's a wicked little car. I love it.
We've got plans.
But yes, we do.
You see, this is the last drive before it gets ripped apart.
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell everyone about that. Jump over to my channel.
Yeah,
No.
go on Baldy's channel. Hit that subscribe.
Sorry, that was a bit of a shameless plug there.
That's all right. No. Support your local YouTubers. You must. But here's how the engine bay is looking so fast. You know when girls say, "I can't even." I actually can't even right now when I look at this thing. I'm so.
That was so bad. It was terrible.
Shut up.
No, I can't even. This is incredible.
I can't
even. I can't even.
Insert clip of white girl saying, "I can't even."
I can't even. Who can even? It's literally impossible to can. I can't.
All right. So now that this is here, we're gonna throw this. Yeah, I know the sparkle looks nice.
Damn.
I'm still unsure about the black. We could end up painting it the silver all around. Don't at me, all right? It is what it is. But what we'll do is today the aim is we're gonna put the engine in. Like finally, like for the final time, the engine's actually gonna be mounted. And I've got you guys here to help me, so no
Do our
excuses.
best. Do you really want me as a mechanic? You've seen how many cars I've broken.
Yeah, this thing first drive, overheat.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
All
Instantly
Baldy's fault.
overheat.
All right, let's get this thing on the hoist. Get to work, let's go. Yeah. Give it a push, give it a push. Nice. Slow it down. I know, straight into the toolbox. So it has literally taken us pretty much a whole day just to get this gearbox tunnel prepped, mostly because I don't get to see these guys a lot, so we've been talking a lot of shit, you know? Which is good fun. Nah, this looks awesome. Gearbox tunnel is ready for a little bit of black.
I came in early the next day to make up for lost time and laid down the last of our seam sealer on the gearbox tunnel, followed by a nice coat of underseal. It felt bloody good to have this part of the project finished, as it was a massive job. Next up, I got straight on to finishing our frame rails. I measured and drilled the holes for our caster arms, then got on to tidying up the ends of our rails and welding on plates. Hashtag fabrication.
So the whole front end is now finished. Look at this. Looks freaking awesome. Really happy with the angle because I didn't like the straight edge that we had going on before, so that just kind of gives it a complete look. So all of the welds are all officially done. The last thing we need to do on these rails, give them a lick of paint, and then we can bolt the caster arm brackets up, and that is it done. Then we can drop our engine in the engine bay. Absolutely bonkers. We're gonna get it done this video. Lots more work to do. Let's get cracking. Just like that, the work is done. All the rails are painted. Our caster arms are in for the first time. This is crazy to see. Look at this. Full S13 front end in the car. All the rails finalized. Stoked with how everything came out. It looks so much tidier with the angle on the front rails and everything plated off, so.
Here we go, the final push, but also the most rewarding part of the whole process. By this time, everyone else had left the shop, but I was so excited to get this engine in the bay, so I persevered, and I'm so happy that I did, because the end result made all of the hard work worthwhile.
So after many days and hours and multiple people in and out of the workshop, insane amount of hard work, the engine is in the bay and it looks freaking awesome. Are you ready? I'm gonna show you right now. Woo! Check that out. That is freaking amazing. Not mad about the black now that I've got the engine in there as well. Fits so nicely, looks so damn clean. There is something so cool just about like a naked looking car like this, slammed on its face. Look how wide those wheels stick out. It just looks so cool naked, like with the front frame rails all painted. The engine looks so good in there. So now it's time to whip off our old front guards for the last time they're going. Once again, our SP Tools electric mini ratchet comes in massive handy with this job. It also makes filming so much easier with one hand. So good. So the car's looking pretty naked right now, the guard's off, and I really want to do this together with you guys on camera. So we have our guard and it's all ready to go on, I think. Old guard, so the weight difference between the two, I think, like literally, this weighs, it would weigh literally half of what that weighs, which is crazy. The construction of these guards is beautiful as well, but they're quite expensive, so you would expect them to be, but let's like go and put them on the car together. So just slip it in nicely. Oh, Jesus. Instantly changes changes the look of the whole car. That is insane. Look at our fitment. What? Literally bang on, and we guessed that as well. I'm literally so happy I could cry. Like this build it's so much cooler and bigger and better than I ever thought it could be. So here's a stock guard. Woo! Just changes the whole look of the car. Boom, both guards on, satisfying as if. So the car is in the air, look at that. Here are the frame rails that we made for our subframe that are just dummy fitted at the moment. So they're welded in, but you wouldn't trust it thus far. You have to finish it off, right? So what we need to do, we've got the old frame rails here, we're gonna plate them off. So cut some nice plates out, like so. Weld these in, and then add some tube that goes from here to our new rails, and obviously finish welding it all in as well. So let's go ahead, do some fab work, get this done.
Since we're likely to be thrashing the hell out of this car on track, it's really important that we make the rear end nice and strong. The last thing you want is the rear subframe falling out mid-corner. Boxing our new frame rails back into the original chassis rails should give us all the strength we're looking for. Plus we're adding in a few extra sections for added strength and ultimately added peace of mind.
So I was welding and I literally didn't realize that I'd caught fire in the car, and I think it was on fire for a while. I don't know if you can see the smoke pouring out there, but yep, that happened. Luckily I jumped in and put it out and it is all good. Nothing super important was on fire. But we're making really good progress on the rear end here, getting our bars welded in and getting everything tied back into the chassis. So freaking happy that the job is done. Big procrastination guy right here, but we got it done. Freaking stoked.
It was such an awesome feeling bolting the MX-5 subframe onto our newly completed frame rails. It's actually insane how easy it is to remove and install. 4 bolts and the whole thing is in. Amazing.
Once again, we have hit another massive milestone in this build, and that is because our subframe and our diff is officially in the car. Look at that. That looks so goddamn good. All right, enough of that stuff. Time to get some real work done in the engine bay. All right, so what we are doing is we're going to set up our intercooler piping for our intercooler. And that's a really exciting thing because that means that we are starting to make moves to start the car for the first time. So firstly, we mock up the piping so that we can establish where we need to cut our holes. Then we mark our spots and use a hole saw to drill through the metal. To get the oval shape that I was looking for, I drilled 2 half-moon shapes with the hole saw, then I used an angle grinder to finish off the cuts. Once this was measured on both sides, it was time to measure and cut our piping to suit. It's kind of weird how I have a workshop full of benches and I still end up working on the ground. Stuff like this takes such a freaking long amount of time, especially if you're not a fabricator like me, so everything just takes significantly longer, but it's very, very rewarding. And look at that. That looks so good. Just like gets everything straight directly out of the way. We'll grab a pod filter and we'll just slip it on there. Ooh, suss that out. That is so good. You can really start to see the whole thing coming together now. That looks absolutely amazing. Super happy with the turbo placement now that we've got the piping in. Now, a lot of you guys ask me, is it gonna be a street car? Is it gonna be a drift car? Is it gonna be a track car? The answer to that is, it's gonna be a mix of all three. Yes, it's gonna be a street car. Yes, we will be able to take it drifting. And yes, we will be taking it to the track, grip racing and seeing what times we can lay down, because this thing is gonna be spicy. But obviously, to go to the track, we need to have a couple of specific things in this car. First things first, we need bucket seats. Look at that. Fresh as heck, and they're going to be going into our rear-wheel drive Lancer build. Second thing you need at the track is a roll cage. So at the moment, Woz is hard at work and he's bending up the main hoop for our roll cage in the Fevo. I am so excited about this. We're gonna have full street spec interior, but with a half cage in there. The half cage is gonna be painted, it's gonna look beautiful, and I'm freaking excited.
While Woz is busy bending up the main hoop for our roll cage using this pipe bender, I'm doing a ceremonial dance in the hope that it'll bring me some luck when it comes to making this seat rail, because I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing.
This is kind of awesome. This feels so freaking good. This car is gonna be amazing when it's done.
So I lay down the tacks on our seat mounts before grabbing our SP tools and removing the seat so we can lay down the final welds. While I was doing that, Woz tacked in our foot plates and test fitted the main hoop. Once he was happy, I painted the top of the main hoop, as this wouldn't be possible once it was welded in the car.
This seat rail has taken me an insane amount of time to make. It was quite fiddly, quite awkward, and I just wanted to make sure I got the seat in the absolute perfect position, but like, super proud of it. But we'll chuck it in the car. I'll show you guys how it fits up. This is quite difficult to do with one hand. Boom, just like that.
So I laid down some matte black paint on our freshly made frame rail before installing it back onto the seat. In the car, Woz was doing all of the heavy lifting, installing the rear legs, crossbar for the main hoop, and harness bar onto the rear of our roll cage.
So this is a really exciting part of the video because the back half of the cage is in fact finished. This thing looks so freaking cool. Honestly, like just seeing it in the back of the car absolutely changes just the whole look of the car now, especially seeing it through this back window as well. Let's have a little sit in the car now that we have a cage in it. Oh, look at that. The cage, the seats. I actually really like these seats. They're perfectly like comfortable to drive on the street, but also hold you enough that when you're on the track, you're not going to be wobbling around everywhere, but so good. Today we are wiring in a Haltech ECU into the car. A very tedious operation. We are on the road to the finish. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Building a custom loom and installing a standalone ECU is no easy task, and I'm lucky that I have people like Bailey who can help me out. While he's doing the loom, I'm tearing down the front end of our Lancer and undressing the body loom to make the necessary modifications and tidy it all up for the install.
Please run today. So we have oil going in the car for the very first time. Haltech, let's plug it in. I'm taking this to Bailey. We're gonna see if this thing actually works.
There's a bird's nest.
Oh yeah, don't show them the bird's nest of wires that's going on down there at the moment. We should have power to the ECU now. Do you want to do the honors? Give it a switch. Boom! Lights. So now we think we can start the motor. We've got our amazing fuel setup right here, E85. Currently, Bailey is just configuring the dwell time for the coils and the fuel map. You can do it. All right, ready? Yeah. I'm so scared. Here we go. Oh my Jesus. Here we go. Woo! What? Yes! Our rear-wheel drive Lancer runs. That is crazy. Holy crap. Look at this right here. I'm super excited about this because, to be honest, I've been really interested to see the quality of the Phoenix stuff for a long time now, and we have these two boxes sitting in front of us. Here we are. Woo! So we have a beautiful Phoenix radiator here, and this thing is just levels above the eBay unit in terms of quality.
Our new Phoenix radiator bolted right up to the mounts that we'd previously made, which was a massive win. This unit has definitely leveled up our engine bay. Next up, I cut off our old intercooler mounts and slapped some protection on our new intercooler so that we don't scratch it. Then we test mounted the intercooler with the bumper to get the cooler in the right spot before tacking on and welding our new mounts.
I'm starting to get used to this welding stuff. Look at that, not bad. Phoenix gear is officially mounted. So with builds like this, they cost a lot of money, and small channels like mine, it's always a struggle, right? I'm constantly watching the budget, money coming in and out of the bank, and it's always just a juggling act basically. And when a brand like Raceworks comes on board and helps out, it's basically a dream come true for someone like me. So I'm freaking excited. So we have a complete fuel system here for our CA18 motor in our rear wheel drive Evo. Honestly, I'm absolutely blown away by this. We have fuel pumps, we have all the fittings that we need. We have fuel injectors, fuel pump brackets, and they hooked us up with a brand new fuel cell and surge tank for this thing. So the boot is going to be looking absolutely insane. I'm still pretty speechless, to be honest. So I want to say a massive thank you to Raceworks, and I'm absolutely frothing to get the stuff in the car. Suss how much better this looks instantly with these two things in here. Actually, I wonder if I should have that around that way for the Raceworks logo. Our rib nuts are now in, nice and tidy, which means now we're going to empty the boot out completely. I quickly also welded in our threaded rod that are going to hold our battery down, so that's all nice and done now. Got that in before you actually paint the boot. We're going to vacuum the boot and give it a lick of paint. Let's go! We have officially got a black boot, satin black. I think it looks wicked. So one thing I'm most proud of on this build is that we continue to level up the work that we're doing on this channel when it comes to cars, and this might be some of my favorite work we've ever done. Check this out. Oh, absolutely beautiful. The black on black just looks so good. Brand new gold hardware. Look at this Raceworks fuel pump. Looks so good in there. I'm so stoked that everything's black. It looks awesome. Team, it is finally time to install our fuel hose.
This was the first real fuel system that I've ever built, and it was such a satisfying process. Once the fuel system was finished, it was time to move on to the exhaust.
So, we've got a big bunch of goodies here that we're gonna basically stick together to make the exhaust. Bunch of bends, V-band clamps, reducer because we're gonna run a 4-inch tip and we're running a 3-inch exhaust, all of our hangers, and our beautiful muffler that we're running on the car. So skip forward a little bit, the car is now on the ground. We got as far as the dump pipe being tacked up and on the car, starting to look so good. But unfortunately, the straight stainless that we got, we ordered 3-inch, but we accidentally got given 3.5 inch. Yeah, let's go. Let's just keep moving. I'm absolutely frothing this. You look at that. How freaking sick does that look? We nailed the placement, which is pretty good considering we were guessing. Well, no, kind of guessing on the hoist, you know what I mean? Looks perfect, fits perfect. I'll show you guys the dump from the top as well. I'm sure everyone's keen to see it. No lobster bends here, just a super tidy 90 degree down, flex join 90 degree. All super nice welds once again from Bailey.
Once the exhaust was finished, it was time to make our water and oil lines for the turbo using our trusty Raceworks gear. This stuff is so easy to work with and really satisfying once you get it all together.
So we are back in the beautiful shop and we are ready to put our drive shaft in. Take a look at this thing. It is absolutely beautiful. So what I gave GJ Drivelines was a crusty Nissan end and a crusty MX-5 end, and they've gone ahead and made a basically brand new drive shaft. This is not sponsored at all. We paid full price. This was $450, which I think is a fantastic price. They painted and everything. It's also obviously balanced, which is fantastic, and ready to go. Well, it's a frickin' Christmas miracle because I did not muck up the length measurements, which is amazing. And it looks so good in there. Holy crap. That's insane. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've all been kind of waiting for, definitely waiting for actually, we're gonna put some E85 in our Raceworks fuel cell. We're both very tired and very hungry, but we're putting E85 in our car. That's amazing. Yes! All right, fingers crossed. See, that's the sound. Look at that. She doesn't want to rev though. That's exciting. There we go. That's what we want. There we go. Woohoo! Wow, it sounds healthy, huh? That's awesome. Haha! Listen to that. That's responsive, huh? All right, it runs so good. This motor sounds so healthy, which I'm so thankful for. Because it's been a bit of a stressful evening, if I'm honest. Now we're gonna spin the rear wheels for the first time, which means Bailey's gonna start it, throw it in gear. We don't have a radiator, so we can't run it for too long, and just spin those rear wheels. Give it some sun, let's go. Let's go. Come on. Hey! That's so weird to see. Hell yeah, dude. Are they both spinning? Yes. Let's go. So good. That's That is absolutely insane. So it's time to fill our Phoenix radiator with water, which is like the last thing we need to do. Then we need to load it up and go to the dyno. Fingers crossed that the system doesn't leak. All right, I'm so freaking nervous right now. Skip forward a little bit. Bailey had to leave. We bleed the brakes. The coolant is all good to go. Everything is good to go. There's a couple of dodgy things going on with the wiring because we had to wire in a lamp for the alternator to work, but that's fine. Everything's cable tied out of the way and we're ready to freaking go. So, oh my God, the thing's on the ground, which means I'm about to drive out of the shop with this thing for the first time. I actually cannot believe it. This is crazy. Like, look at this setup. It looks ridiculous with everything in there. So freaking good. Fingers crossed this all goes to plan. What a day. I'm so excited. Here we go. All right, it's gonna be a tight squeeze. Getting out of here. Leave the boot up just in case we need to take the battery off. Oh. This thing is just ready to dyno. And when I say just, like, there's a lot going on. All right, here we go. Going down. Wow. Everything seems good. I honestly cannot explain to you what that just felt like. That is one of the most incredible feelings I've ever had in my automotive life. Look at it, it feels so damn cool. I'm so pumped. Fingers crossed we can keep these vibes going throughout the rest of tonight because that is freaking epic. We're all loaded up. Oh man, we're running late as per usual. Let's go dyno tune this thing. Cross fingers, it's gonna go well. We're gonna make 200 kilowatts and it's gonna be just a great night. Oh, it's driving. Yeah, that is. made 255 horsepower on the dyno, and this thing's officially rear-wheel drive, running and driving crazy. But we're straight on to the next part of the build, and that is painting this car. Boom! Oh my God. Right now, we're gonna strip the car down. Let's get to work. And just like that, she is naked. So enjoy this next little boring montage of me sanding down a car. Good morning, coffee time, and it is time to paint the frickin' rear-wheel drive Evo. You know when you're a kid and you'd really enjoy building forts in the lounge? Well, I'm an adult and I still enjoy building forts. We've had enough of the sanding. The car is ready. So all we've got to do now is blow this whole place out because there's dust everywhere. Wipe this whole thing down with Prepsol, which we're going to do next. And then your boy gets to lay some paint. Yeah. Also, Nathan's here. Hi, Nathan.
Hi.
He's just doing all the hard work behind the scenes. That's how we roll. Final coat, let's go. So we have finished painting the rear-wheel drive Evo, and I've got to say, I think we've outdone ourselves with this one. It has turned out better than we hoped, even with my lack of painting skills. We've literally done the best that we could possibly have done. First of all, I'm going to show you the front of the car because this silver bay looks so cool with the yellow. But ready? Are you ready? I'm going to show you what the car actually looks like. So obviously it's still in bits, but man, this thing has turned out so damn cool. What do you think?
It's very cool.
It's crazy. Me and Nathan just keep looking at it being like, what the hell? This is the same night, by the way. We've already packed up the booth. This paint dries incredibly quickly. So it's all fully tacked up and very, you can touch it. Not that we're going to, but it's all kind of good to go. That's the reason we've packed up the booth and it's sitting in the shop because it's essentially dry, but look at that. As you can see, I've already fitted the rear bumper and it looks so good. So right now I'm gonna fit these taillights and we're gonna put the boot down for the first time. I'm really excited to see what the lights look like on the color because at the moment there's just the yellow, a lot of yellow. And you know what? I'm not even gonna time lapse it. I'm gonna spend this time with you guys doing it ourselves. And it's kind of nerve wracking because I don't want to scratch the paint. That was fun to do with one hand. We'll take our trusty SP Tools electric ratchet. Boom, makes the job so freaking easy. Oof, this thing is gonna look so damn good. Tail light number 2, we're gonna do that with the YouTube magic. 3, 2, 1. Booyah! And guess what? We're gonna give the honors to my boy Bailey to close the boot because he's been working so freaking hard on this thing alongside me. Give it a shot. Give it a privilege. What a privilege. The enthusiasm is through the roof. Wow. That was the anticlimax.
Paint because I don't know if it's still soft.
It's not soft. It's been boom.
Bang.
Woo! Actually, you know what? Evos with no spoiler
Looks fat.
are a vibe. Wow. How freaking good does it look from the rear? That's insane. Ooh, dude, look at that. I'm so excited.
Dang.
How freaking good.
Yeah.
Should we start the car?
All right.
How good. Best tool ever in the SP Tools box. So good. All right, we've got the guards on, we've lined them up, and we're about to drop the bonnet down for the first time. But first I'll show you guys something. The dress-up washers make everything. Like, it looks so tidy in the engine bay with the dress-up washers. Also, I'm a massive fan of the silver engine bay on the yellow. I actually think it looks awesome. Better than I thought it would look.
Pop in there.
Yeah, it's good. And the sparkle as well.
Yeah,
like,
the glitter.
yeah, the glitter's good. It's pretty subtle, like it's not too crazy. You pop it, you kind of see it on the strut towers, but it's not over the top. But we're gonna drop the bonnet for the first time and see how it all looks. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, we've seen how it looks, but we wanna show you how it looks. Woo! Because we had to line up the guards, but look at that. Yeah, dude. Every time you just add a part to it, it just gets that much better.
Yeah.
Dang.
It's a little bit fatter.
Does get a little bit fatter. Look at that, she's so shiny as well. I know some of you guys will be a little bit pained that we had to cut holes in the bonnet, but it is what it is. And it was super important to me that we got the orientation of these bonnet pins in exactly the right place. So I do like them kind of nicely to the side, exactly in the middle here, and on a bit of an angle. Just like tweaked up a little bit. I think it looks pretty freaking sick. So I'm definitely not mad at all at that. It is currently midnight right now. I'm gonna go ahead and chuck a side skirt on the car, and then we're gonna do something very fun. Freaking crowning jewel of this whole car, in my opinion, is the spoiler. Honestly, changes everything. So stand by, it's going to be freaking sick. Come down. But how's she look though? Oof. Oh man. Jeez. This thing is crazy. Oof. It is very important that we put the bonnet down at this stage to get the full perspective. Oh my gosh, absolutely beautiful. Wow. I know you guys are gonna jump in the comments as well and be like, that without a spoiler is an absolute vibe. And it is, but we're chucking the spoiler on. You're gonna see how much more of a vibe it is with the spoiler on, but that's sick. The finishing touch, and by finishing touch I mean we're not even close to finished, but the exterior, I guess you could say it looks fairly complete.
So if you guys didn't know, this car is CA18 rear-wheel drive drift car.
That's it. Jimmy wasn't, as soon as I told him it was CA, he was like, why on earth would you do that?
It was just the last thing I expected was the CA. It's just like, because people don't even put these in cars they belong in.
It looks good in the bay though, like it suits the car.
Sick as fuck. Is this a chassis front?
Yeah, it's just, dude.
Oh, you did what I did.
Bro, I literally watched your videos.
No way.
Like watched your videos, because like, how are we gonna do this? And then I was just, watched the Nasonda videos, and I literally just did exactly the same thing.
No way, that's so cool.
Custom
He did
rails.
the same thing I did with Nasonda.
Oh, the rails?
He just put new rails in.
Yeah.
Like, it's just easy that way. Right?
It actually wasn't that hard.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, I was surprised, because it definitely tested my maths and fab skills, like to a T.
Yeah.
I literally sat there for hours, just like
Measured a million times.
a million times, had the laser centerline thing,
And it's nice because then you don't have to do custom mounts on the CA. You just fucking
bang in. And then you can also swap in an SR, the same mounts. So like, it's pretty good. Yeah, I future-proofed it.
This car's cool as fuck.
Cheers,
cool
man.
as fuck.
Got the Phoenix radiator. Shout out.
Yeah, dude, shout out Phoenix there. They hooked it up. Ben Jenkins and the boys, they're freaking sick, so.
I hate the question, what's left, but what's left? I know
It's actually done. Like, so I got to paint the front bar. I got to put the carpet in, back seats in, just putting interior and stuff back together.
Did you dyno it yet?
Yeah.
What do I make?
250 on like
Kilowatt
12 horsepower on like 12 PSI on the 85, but we like kept it super chill. We were gonna wind it up and I was like, I'd rather it just work.
This is super cool, dude.
Oh, thank you very much.
Because you know you're like, oh, you gotta go.
Because Golden Week is spring.
84 hours later, and the Jimmy Oaks is still standing.
He's ready for Friday.
Bro, you've killed this. What the hell?
You're gonna come back from getting in alignment. We're gonna have the thing sprayed,
painted.
Mounted,
Done.
trim pieces on.
He's gonna put it. We're gonna paint it. He's gonna put it in the car. Get on the trailer. He's gonna run it over on the trailer.
Overspray on all the cars in the shop. Bar looks mint though.
Car looks amazing.
So last night I got straight onto painting our Jimmy Oaks sanded front bar and it came out really nice. Super happy with the result and I can't wait to fit it. I also painted our fog light covers. I'm going for that rally look because having fog lights in the car, especially if we're going to be kind of drifting and stuff from time to time or on the track, it's just another thing that can fall out of the car. So Nathan is here. What's up, Nathan? Waz is here. So media day for LZ Fest starts tomorrow. So we have the next approximately 6 or so hours to get both of these cars finished. So what we're going to do, we're going to whip the interior out of this and we're going to install the carpet. We're going to put the front bar on and we're going to put the lights on. And we're going to paint the wheels. So there's still a little bit to do, but we're going to get to see the final product and that's what counts. Not going to lie, I'm slightly stressed, but I'm smiling for the camera. Just for you. Just for you, I'm smiling for you. So hit that subscribe button. You know you want it. Let's go! Good? Awesome, bro. Well done, you didn't scratch the paint. The thumb spray technique is coming back out for painting the wheels white. Sorry that we're not using a spray gun, but we are still gonna use clear on them, just matte clear, because I really like the matte white finish. I think it's gonna look awesome. Finally, I'm so hungry, but let's let it down. Man, this is taking longer than expected. Oof. Dude, white is a vibe. Done. Happy. White is so good.
White is good. Good choice.
Jesus. So it turns out you have to put the headlights in before you put the front bar on, so that's what we're gonna do right now. Rear seats going in. Oof. Let's go full street style. There we go. Last piece. Oh, look at this. So good. I don't even know what we said in the last update. It's been one hell of a night. It's now nearly 2 a.m. and guess what? The rear wheel drive Evo is completely finished. And it looks pretty darn... You alright, Nathan? Boom! It looks really good. Boom!
I think the latch stayed.
Oh, latch stuck up.
Push down the cable at the front.
Holy crap. Yeah, it's come up better than any of us could have imagined. And it's all thanks to these guys. Honestly, it takes an army, a small army, to build a car like this. As much as I want to say it was all me, there's no way I would have got this done without Waz, Nathan, and everyone chipping in. I'm going to show you guys the interior though. I'm so actually proud of what we've done with stock interior. Like, we actually made the stock carpet all work with the new gearbox tunnel. Look at that, the hydro sitting on top of the carpet. The extinguisher, look at this, with the bride bucket seats. Everything looks so good. And of course, we've got the back seats in the car as well, all fully cut around the cage like this. Come on. You can't not be absolutely stoked with this. Everything in the engine bay's all finalized. Look at this intake that Bailey made up for us. He whipped it up so quickly, but man, it still looks absolutely awesome. Jimmy Oaks front bar, so damn good. So aggressive, but at the same time, so sleek. Well, let's put the bonnet down and just get the last full effect of the car. Boom. That's it. What the frickin' hell? Absolutely, like, there's just nothing. No words. We've outdone ourselves. Here's a quick rear shot for you, just to give you a bit of a holistic view of the car. We have literally achieved what we set out to do at the start of the series. It's not over yet though, because tomorrow we drive it and drift it for the first time.